Hi, this is Brett with Piano Aha. Today we want to ask two questions. One, if you have a note with an accidental in front of it, does that mean you have to play a black key? And two, if you're playing a black key, does that mean the note has to have an accidental in front of it? So let's take a look at that at the piano. So let's start with an example. I have here a C with the sharp in front of it. So I'll find my C here at the keyboard and move one key to the right, and I end up with a black key. So let's take a look at another example. How about a C with a flat in front of it? So I find my C, and the flat means I go one key to the left, leading me to a white key. So in other words, the answer to our first question has to be no. If you have a note with an accidental, it does not have to be a black key. Now, don't be tempted to make the following mistake. You see the C here, so you play a C, and you see a flat, and you think, oh, well, I guess I have to go down, so in other words, to the left, to the next black key. That is not correct. A flat just means go one key to the left. It has nothing to do with black or white. Nothing to do with black or white. There's one key to the left. So let's look at another example. This time we'll use a sharp. I have here a B with a sharp. So I find the B and add a sharp. And again, that leads me to a white key. So we see definitively that neither for flats nor for sharps does it mean that a note with an accidental always leads you to a black key. Be that as it may, most of the time, it will be the case that a note with an accidental will be a black key. For example, a C with a sharp leads me to a black key. A D with a sharp leads me to a black key. An E with a sharp does not lead me to a black key, so I have an exception there. An F with a sharp leads me to a black key. A G with a sharp and an A with a sharp, they all lead me to black keys. Just a B with a sharp, again, does not lead me to a black key. So in 5 of the 7 cases, a note with an accidental does mean play a black key. So if you want a rule of thumb, you can remember that a note with an accidental gives you a black key, but you have to know that from case to case, you have to look very closely. So let's take a look at another example. Here I have a note, a B, with 2 flats. So here I find that here. I have a B. Now I add my 2 flats, which means go 1 key, 2 keys to the left. And again, I end up with a white note. So that, on the one hand, is another counterexample. We see a note with accidentals not leading us to a black key. And on the other hand, we can see something interesting here. That a note with a double flat will usually lead you to a white key. In that case, in 5 of the 7 cases, a double flat or a double sharp will lead you to a white key. So a good rule of thumb is that a note with a double accidental will be a white key. So to sum up, the first question, if we have a note with an accidental, it doesn't have to be a black key. But if it has 1 accidental, it's probably a black key. And if it has 2 accidentals, it's probably a white key. So let's turn our attention to our second question. Whether a note, or whether a black key can only be written as a note with an accidental. So let's take, for an example, this note here. And let's say, or this key here, let's say I wanted to write that out. Well, I could write that out either as this note with a sharp, so a C with a sharp, or I could write maybe it as a D with a flat, or I could write it as a, for example, this note here with a B with two sharps. But if I write out a bunch of notes, so let's take this as an example. I see all of these notes here on the page. None of these, or ever, I could continue my scale here even higher or go down here even lower. I'm never going to end up with this note. As it turns out, the only way to get to the black keys at all is by using a sharp or a flat. In other words, the answer to our second question is, if you're playing a black key, the only way you could have gotten there was through a note with an accidental. So we see that if we have a note with an accidental, we may or may not have to play a black key. But if we're playing a black key, it must have come from a note with an accidental. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another video.